Hey folks, Copper Thumb here. In today's incredible tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this amazing set of coasters and even show you how you can stamp whatever image you want right on the front there, directly in the slicer. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright folks, let's start as we always start by saying hello to our old friend the default cube before swiftly hitting X and saying goodbye to our friend the default cube. Now with a blank scene, I want you to hit Shift A to bring up the mesh menu, and then we're going to go across to cylinder. Now in the bottom left you'll see this add cylinder menu. Without clicking anywhere else, click on there to open it up, and here we can make some alterations to this because this is essentially going to be our coaster, but at the moment it is 100 centimeters wide, so unless you wanted to put 50 cups on there, we're going to have to make this a little bit smaller. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get rid of the ridges on the edges. I'm going to increase the vertices to 108. That way, when I click off there, you'll see that it's going to smooth it out a little bit, which looks a lot nicer. Now the radius, I want the diameter of this to be 10 centimeters, so I'm going to make the radius 5 centimeters. And then you'll see it goes very long and thin. And then I'm just going to make the depth half a centimeter, 0.5. Boom. Now if I scroll on the middle mouse wheel, you see here that we essentially have a basic coaster shape. Now to move around my scene, I'm holding Shift and holding in the middle mouse button, which allows me to sort of strafe around the scene here. So yes, with this selected, I'm going to go into edit mode, and then I'm going to hit 2 to go into edge select mode, hold Alt, and then click one of these top edges to get everything around this top rim. You could also do the same thing by hitting face select and selecting the top face. But to make this look a little bit more interesting, what I'm going to do is hit Control B, and I'm going to add a bevel. Now, if I move my mouse, you'll see here that it adds this nice beveled edge. Now, if I scroll on the mouse wheel, I can add the amount of bevel cuts I want to add onto there. But I actually like the look of it just being flat like this. So I'm just going to add a neat little beveled edge there. Wonderful. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into edge select mode again to add a bit more visual interest. And I'm going to do like a butcher block style indent a little bit in here. So to do that, the same before, I'm going to go into edge select mode, hold Alt, click this edge to gather all of the edges around there. Then I'm going to hit I to inset, and I'm going to inset it just a little bit. Then I'm going to hit I to inset again, to inset a little bit more. And now I have this sort of this ring that I've put inside the coaster. Now, if I go into 3, into face select, hit Alt and hit near this edge here, now it gathers that whole ring. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude and just bring it down ever so slightly. And there you have it. We've basically created a very simple coaster in no time at all. Now let's build a case for these coasters to sit in on your coffee table, dining table, gaming table, wherever. Okay, to make the holder for this coaster, I'm going to have to decide how many coasters I want in this set. Now, I think I'm going to do 4, but you could absolutely do 6 or 8 or as many coasters as you like, really, because what we need to do is stack these on top of each other so we can get the measurements of our coaster holder. Now, one way to do this, I could hit Shift D and then on the Z-axis kind of bring this up and then try and align my view to the side and just try and like move this up and down like so, and then Shift D and do it again for as many coasters as I like. But there's also a really, really easy way, because when we work in Blender, we want to work smarter, not harder. So what we can do to this is actually add a modifier to it. So if I go to modifier, and if you've seen my other tutorials, you've probably seen this before, but we can add an array modifier. Now you'll see that it duplicates this along an array, and it's doing it along the x-axis, because you'll see in here on the side it says offset x 1. Now if I put that to 0, because we don't want them going that way, but if I then go to the z-axis and do offset 1 here, you will see that it neatly stacks them on top of each other. So you can have as many coasters as you want, but I am going to go for 4. And then just so they're not completely tight on top of each other, I'm also going to change this to 1.01. 1.01. That way, it adds a little bit of space between them as well, which is great, just so they're not perfectly touching to allow for the tolerances of 3D printing. Now that I have these stacked on top of each other, I can start building the case. Again, doesn't matter if you're doing 6 or 4, you can pick at this point. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift A and I'm going to bring in another cylinder. Now it'll bring in, usually should bring in the same size cylinder as what we had done before, but I am going to grab this and then I'm going to bring it down on the Z-axis to sit just below the coasters like so. And I'm actually going to scale this 0.5 on the Z to make it 0.25 in thickness, because I don't need it to be quite as thick as the coasters. What I can also do now is I can scale this by 1.1, actually 1.01, just to bring it, actually 0.2, just to bring it out a little bit wider than the coasters, because we don't want the coasters to be too sure a fit inside of this thing. Now, if I go into edit mode and I go into and I hit 3 to make sure I'm in face select, and again hold Alt to bring up the tool that allows us to grab all the faces in a row, and click near that edge while I'm holding Alt to grab all of these faces. I am now going to hit E to extrude and then S to scale, and I'm going to bring this out just a little bit. You see, just like that. Awesome. Now what I can do is the same as before. Hold Alt, click this top line here. Great. And then making sure I'm in like a sideways view here, I'm going to extrude this. Now, you want to make sure that the blue line is there so it's locked to the Z-axis. If I hit Z, you'll see I can extrude it wherever I want. But if you hit Z again, it locks it to that axis, and then we're going to bring it right up till it's just above those coasters like so. And now we have our coasters in the coaster holders with some good tolerances so they're going to fit in there neatly. The last thing to do is to add a little groove here so we can actually get the coasters out, because if you put them in now, you'd have to tip it the other way up to get them out, which is no good. So there's a very easy way to do this, and we can do that with some cool proportional editing. So to do proportional editing, I'll quickly demonstrate. If I click one of these and I hit G and to grab it on the Z-axis and I move it down, you'll see that it just moves that one face. Now, if I come out of there, if I hit O to turn on proportional editing, you can also do it by clicking this little button up here. Now when I hit G, and if I just scroll down a little bit so you can see this circle, you can scroll on the mouse wheel to see how much is affected. I can now scroll this down on the Z and it moves all of them within this sort of circle radius here. So I'm going to be careful, because if I scroll too much, it's going to deform the bottom, and we don't want that because then it won't be flat on the print bed. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit, but I'm going to scroll just until I know it's not going to alter the bottom, and then I'm going to scroll this right down like so. Let's see, like so. And now you can get a finger in to get the coasters out. How good is that? So now we have the coasters and the coaster holder. Now, as a bonus, I will then show you how we can add whatever design we want on top of these directly in the slicer. So yeah, this is ready to go right now, but yeah, let's move on to that part now. Okay, so we're not actually going to add the pattern in Blender. We're actually going to add that in the slicing software, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. But first, we need to export these files ready to add into our slicer. And to do that, we need to export them as STLs. So first thing I'm going to do is click on the holder, and I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Export as STL. I'm then going to, you can see here I've already done it, but I'm going to include selection only, not touch anything else. You can have apply modifiers on, and I named this coaster holder v1.stl, and then you can hit export to do it. And then for the coaster, what I'm going to actually do is delete the array, because we don't need that on anymore. That was just mainly to size it up, and I can do that by hitting this little X here that removes the modifier, and now you'll see it goes back down to 1. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go File, Export, STL. I'm going to click on Coaster Holder, and then I'm going to rename that to just Coaster V1. And now when I export that, we have the STLs ready to add to our slicer. So let's open up our slicer of choice. I'm going to use Bambu Studio, but you can use Cura or whatever slicer you're using. It's going to be the same principles no matter what slicer you're using. So I'm going to fire up that now, and we'll get started. Okay, before we open the slicer, what we first need to do is convert whatever image we want to add to our 3D model. And we can do that by first selecting our model. I'm going to use my logo as the example Here it is, looking all beautiful. Now I'm gonna stamp this onto my model directly in the slicer. But first, this is a PNG, and I need this to be an SVG file, a scalable vector graphics file. Now, it's very easy to do. All you can do is go to a website like convertio.co. There's loads of these. Essentially, all you need to do is convert it to an SVG. I love Convertio. I use it all the time. Not sponsored or anything like that. Just a great website. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my logo and I'm going to hit open. And then you can see here at the top, you can convert it to, and I'm going to convert it to an SVG. And then I'm going to hit convert. And that should happen pretty quickly in real time here, and then it's done. And then I just hit download to download that, and here you see I have that ready to go. Awesome. Now we can fire up the slicer, and I'll show you how we can use that SVG to add it to our 3D model. Okay, folks, so fire up your slicing software of choice. Mine is Bambu Studio. I highly recommend Bambu Studio. I love this slicer. It works great. I use it for all of my projects. I've used them all as well. I've used Cura Slicer, Orca Slicer, Prusa Slicer. They all do, pretty much the same thing. But this works for me just because I use my Bambu printers. But yeah, I recommend checking it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is just add in my 3D model. I already have my device selected, the printer I'm going to print it on, a Bambu Lab P1S, and it's a 4-color printer, so I have these printers up here. You will need a multicolor printer, obviously, to print in separate colors for this. So what I'm going to do now is just add in my coaster. So if I go to my files here, and I can drag this in, and then I now have my coaster there. I'm going to make that orange by hitting 3, which corresponds on the side. We have a nice bright orange coaster. And now the fun part. How do I add in my logo or design to this? Well, it's very easy in Bambu Slicer. I'm going to select the part. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go down to add negative part and then down to SVG, because as you know, we made an SVG file. So if I grab that, you can see here, there's the SVG we converted of my logo. So if I click on that and then hit open, it will bring it in. There it is, looking great. Now, obviously much too large, but we can alter the size by just bringing down this blue bar here. Just put it in the middle there. And we can move it around by grabbing this yellow square. Now, an important thing to note, you will need to make sure on the operation, you could cut out all of that shape with this if you wanted to have it like go to be see-through all the way through. But what we want is we want to add it as a modifier. So click to change it to a modifier, because what we're modifying for just that section is the color. Now, if I hit 2 with modifier selected, you'll see that it goes yellow, but don't worry about that. That's just to differentiate. But we have turned it to black. If I then slice this model, you'll see now that it's made it purple. I must have hit 1 by mistake. So let me go back. It's like that, hit 2. So it should be, and then when I slice that, now it's black. There you go. And there we have it, a coaster that has our logo put right on there. And you can do this, you can add whatever logo or design or anything, use it as a negative part, and then color that negative part to add color to your model. You also don't have to have it go all the way through. You can, if you double click the modifier to bring up the modifier menu, you can also decrease the depth. So if you just want this to just alter the very top, we can do that. And then if I'd slice it again, you'll see that it doesn't go all the way through this time, and it will drastically lower the printing time. So that's amazing. I'm going to clone this. I'm going to print off all 4 of these with the holder, and then let's take a look at the finished product. And here they are, folks, fresh off the print bed. Look how cool these things turned out. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Remember, you can put whatever logo you want on the front there, and these things will make incredible gifts for someone, or add a little spice to your gaming table, or your dining table, or your coffee table, or whatever. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to see more, please check out my full playlist of amazing bite-sized tutorials. And as always, please like, subscribe, give me a follow. I'm doing new tutorials every week, and other build videos, and other exciting things that I have planned for the channel. So anyway, I've been Copper Thumb, you've been awesome. I'll see you in the next one.